Imagine a scientist who mathematically proved that the very fabric of the universe can tear itself apart. A mind capable of seeing hidden dimensions of space, calculating exactly how the cosmos can rip open and stitch itself back together without destroying reality. Now, imagine that this exact same world-renowned genius is absolutely terrified that a superintelligent AI is eventually going to slaughter humanity. And his solution? The only logical way to stop this impending apocalypse is for all of us to immediately stop eating meat. It is honestly one of the most staggering psychological contradictions you will ever find in modern science. Here is a person whose entire life, his very identity really, is built upon the absolute, cold precision of theoretical physics. And yet, he is making these massive, almost science fiction level leaps into morality, artificial intelligence, and the existential survival of our species. If you find yourself captivated by the hidden architectures of brilliant, contradictory minds, like, share, and subscribe to Legendary Lives Unveiled. We are dissecting the hidden angles of a mind that operates on a totally different frequency. To truly grasp the multidimensional, brilliant, and highly controversial life of theoretical physicist Brian Greene, we cannot begin in a laboratory. We must start in a living room in New York City, 1968. Born in 1963 to a Jewish family, his father, Alan Greene, was an incredibly colorful character. Alan was a high school dropout, yet deeply educated in the messy ways of the world. He was a former vaudeville performer who later worked as a voice coach and a composer. Vaudeville is the absolute epitome of chaotic, fluid, spontaneous human expression. It is loud, it is messy. It relies entirely on unpredictable human reaction. Sitting right in the middle of this theatrical chaos is young Brian, the exact opposite. A math prodigy of the highest order. At just 5 years old, Brian and his father would tape massive sheets of construction paper together, unrolling them across the floor, just so the boy could multiply 30-digit numbers in his head. The mental architecture required for a 5-year-old to hold a 30-digit number in their working memory, let alone multiply it, is insane. It forged a deep psychological contrast very early in his life. The rigid, absolute, unforgiving rules of mathematics juxtaposed directly against the artistic, unpredictable world of his father. Math does not care about your feelings. A 30-digit multiplication problem only has one true answer. By age 12, Brian had completely exhausted his public school's math curriculum. The local educational infrastructure was so outmatched that they casually brought in a Columbia University professor to privately tutor the middle schooler. He moved on to Stuyvesant High School, sharing classes with another future physics heavyweight, Lisa Randall. Then came a bachelor's degree at Harvard, graduating summa cum laude, before heading to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar for his PhD. But while at Oxford, immersed in hyper-advanced mathematics, he was also taking intensive piano lessons with the concert pianist Jack Gibbons. This is not mere trivia. It is the master key to his life's work. Fundamentally, music is the study of vibrations, frequencies, and harmonies. How a string vibrates dictates the note you hear. Greene's entire career would be defined by string theory, which proposes that the fundamental ingredients of the universe are not tiny dots or particles, but tiny vibrating strings of energy. He did not reject the arts for math. He found the math inside the arts. He saw the music in the mathematics. Yet, beneath this synthesis, there was a chilling detachment. Living near the American Museum of Natural History as a child, he would go to the planetarium and be completely captivated, but he felt absolutely nothing for the dinosaur exhibits. He did not care about the earthly, the biological, or the dead. He was obsessed with the eternal, the cosmic, the absolute mathematical laws. He was learning to read the underlying matrix code of the universe before he even knew how to ride a bicycle. To a mind trained from age 5 to seek perfect, elegant mathematical solutions, physical reality, which is chaotic, entropic, and deeply flawed, can seem almost offensive. This unique ability to view the universe as a musical, mathematical puzzle led Greene directly into the heart of the most mind-bending physics revolution of the late 20th century. But to understand his work, you must understand the glaring, massive problem with modern physics. On one side, you have Einstein's general relativity, brilliantly describing the smooth, heavy universe of stars, galaxies, and gravity. On the other side, quantum mechanics, describing the microscopic universe of atoms and subatomic particles. But the quantum world is not smooth. It is jittery, chaotic, and probabilistic. They are mathematically incompatible. If you take the equations of Einstein's gravity and apply them to the quantum world, the math breaks down into nonsensical infinities. They absolutely hate each other. String theory was the primary goal to unify them into a single, elegant framework of quantum gravity. And Brian Greene did not just study it. He helped build its architectural foundations. One of his major early breakthroughs was the co-discovery of mirror symmetry, alongside his colleague Ronan Plesser. They discovered that two entirely different curled-up dimensions, known as Calabi-Yau manifolds, could yield the exact same physical implications for the universe. Imagine looking at a telephone cable from 100 yards away. It looks like a one-dimensional line. But as you walk right up to it, you see the cable has thickness. It is actually a 3D tube. An ant could crawl around the circular circumference, a dimension that was always there, just too small to see from far away. String theory requires extra dimensions of space to work mathematically, often 10 spatial dimensions and 1 of time. 6 of these extra dimensions are curled up into fantastically small, complex, multi-dimensional shapes, floating everywhere at every single point in space. Greene and Plesser proved that 2 completely different architectural blueprints for these hidden dimensions produced the exact same physical universe on our scale. But his most audacious contribution defied Einstein himself. Einstein believed the fabric of space was smooth and continuous like a trampoline. It could bend, stretch, and warp to create gravity, but it could not tear. If it tore, the math suggested reality would unravel at that point. Greene, alongside colleagues Paul Aspinwall and David Morrison, proved the impossible. Through topology change, the flop and conifold transitions, they proved mathematically that the fabric of space can tear. Under the rules of string theory, you can take a pair of scissors, cut a hole right in the middle of the space-time trampoline, twist the fabric, sew it back together into a completely different shape, and you won't even fall through. The universe survives this tear because of a self-repair mechanism built into its extra dimensions. A specific type of string, a brain, or a protective bubble of energy wraps itself around the tear like cosmic scar tissue. It shields the rest of reality from the catastrophic effects, allowing space to smoothly repair itself into a new topology. This pursuit of shape and vibration had profound implications. In his 1986 thesis at Oxford, Greene attempted to use these extra dimensions to explain a fundamental mystery. Why do particles come in exactly 3 generations, or families? For instance, the lightweight electron, its heavier version, the muon, and the even heavier tau particle. Greene linked this to a specific geometrical feature called an Euler characteristic of 6. Topologically, a coffee mug and a donut are the exact same shape, because they both have exactly 1 hole. You could mold a clay donut into a coffee mug without tearing the clay. The hole in the donut becomes the hole in the handle of the mug. The number of holes defines the basic shape. Greene showed that if the extra dimensions have an Euler characteristic related to the number 6, meaning a specific number of geometric holes, the strings vibrating inside them are physically restricted, much like the shape of a French horn restricts air to produce a specific sound. This restriction forces the strings to vibrate in ways that produce exactly 3 families of particles. The particles that make up your very body are literally just the notes played by strings, vibrating through the holes of a microscopic, 6-dimensional horn. If you know the shape of the extra dimensions, you know how the strings vibrate. If you know how they vibrate, you know what particles exist. It is the absolute peak of theoretical elegance, using pure mathematics to deduce the exact taxonomy of the physical world. But behind this elegant universe, this incredibly beautiful symphony of math, a terrifying void was staring back at him. A crushing 40-year crisis in physics that threatened to unravel his entire life's work. What if none of this is actually real? This is the core tension of Brian Greene's scientific career, and really, of an entire generation of physicists. String theory, for all its breathtaking mathematical beauty, has failed to produce a single testable experimental prediction for over 40 years. Greene himself admits this agonizing truth. In a deeply personal podcast interview with physicist Brian Keating at Columbia University, Greene flat out gives string theory a low grade on making contact with experimental data. He has to. The physics community poured billions of dollars into building the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. They smashed particles together at near the speed of light, desperately hoping to find supersymmetry, a massive pillar that string theory relies on to work mathematically. The result of the LHC? A null result. Nothing. No superpartners. It was a devastating blow that created an incredible philosophical dilemma. You have a theory that is mathematically exquisite, theoretically solving the inconsistencies between quantum mechanics and gravity. But that cannot be verified by our current technological capabilities. It is stuck on a chalkboard, existing purely in the realm of abstract mathematics. It begs a terrifying question. At what point does physics stop being physics and start becoming pure mathematics? But Greene defends his life's work fiercely. In that same interview with Keating, he makes an argument that stops you in your tracks. He says string theory does make a prediction. It predicts gravity. Greene argues that if you study the math of vibrating strings, without even trying to include gravity, the exact equations of Einstein's general relativity naturally fall out of the math. A profound post-diction? To prove they are not just playing mathematical games, Greene points to Juan Maldacena's ADS/CFT correspondence. This is essentially a mathematical dictionary, the absolute lifeline for string theorists. Maldacena proved that a string theory operating in a specific kind of 5-dimensional space is mathematically identical to a well-understood quantum physics theory operating on the 4-dimensional boundary of that space. It linked the highly speculative world of strings to the proven world of quantum fields. When gravity magically appears in his string equations, it feels like the universe is winking at him, whispering that he is on the right track. Yet, the critics are merciless. They accuse Greene of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Imagine walking up to a barn, firing a bullet into the side of it, and then walking up with a paintbrush and drawing a bullseye around the bullet hole. Then turning around and claiming to be an expert marksman. That is what a post-diction feels like. You already knew gravity existed. You already had Einstein's equations. If string theory has 10 to the power of 500 possible solutions, isn't finding one that has gravity basically guaranteed? The sociology of science has practically fractured over this. Critics argue that string theorists put the TOE, the theory of everything, before the GUT, the grand unified theory, which deals with testable particle physics. They skipped a massive step. There is a real fear that brilliant minds have wasted entire careers chasing beautiful math that describes a universe that simply does not exist, perhaps frustrated by the agonizing limits of experimental physics and tired of waiting for technology to catch up to his equations. Greene's recent work has taken a dramatic, highly controversial pivot. If he cannot prove the hidden dimensions exist, he will use the laws of physics to explain human existence. He steps away from pure abstract math and walks directly into the minefield of philosophy. This brings us to his staggering 2020 book, Until the End of Time. It is a massive departure. Instead of explaining string theory, he attempts to explain the entire arc of the universe, from the Big Bang to its ultimate cold, dark death. At the center of this is a concept he calls the entropic two-step. The second law of thermodynamics says that everything in the universe inevitably decays into disorder. That decay is entropy. A shattered glass does not reassemble itself. But Greene points out an obvious paradox. If the universe is constantly decaying, how do incredibly complex, ordered things like stars, planets, and human beings exist at all? Think about a standard kitchen refrigerator. The inside is highly ordered, decreasing entropy by making things cold and preserving them. But to do this without violating the laws of physics, the motor must blast a massive amount of heat and waste energy out of the coils in the back, making your kitchen slightly warmer. The net entropy of the room still goes up. Greene argues that gravity acts like the refrigerator motor. It pulls gas together to create a highly ordered burning star, but in doing so, it blasts massive amounts of heat and light entropy into the surrounding void. Order is purchased at the cost of greater disorder elsewhere. From this sound physical premise, Greene takes a hardline, reductionist materialist stance and applies it directly to you. He argues that human consciousness, your memories, your deepest feelings of love, your artistic expression, they are all just the refrigerator. We are just the fridge. We are merely the temporary byproducts of physical particles following immutable mathematical laws, generating a little bit of local order while the universe marches toward death. The consequence of this physicalist view is absolute. Greene argues that free will does not exist. Period. Every single action, every choice you think you are making, is entirely determined by the physical laws and particle trajectories set in motion at the exact moment of the Big Bang. You are just a collection of particles playing out a pre-written mathematical script. The visceral backlash was immediate. Reviews from readers and critics on platforms like Goodreads are brutal. They called the book a train wreck, accusing Greene of arrogance. Why? Because Greene fell straight into what is sometimes called the Einstein trap. When brilliant, aging physicists attempt to apply the rigid, clean laws of particle physics to the messy, emergent realities of human philosophy, biology, and consciousness, critics argue he treats entropy like a physical substance rather than a statistical condition, making massive, completely unwarranted leaps from quantum mechanics to a kind of nihilistic spirituality. It is a deeply frustrating paradox. Here is a beloved science communicator, suddenly telling his audience that they are meaningless biological machines bound for extinction, yet asking them to find revered impermanence and beauty in the fact that our particles can briefly write symphonies before they dissolve. Furthermore, if everything is completely predetermined, then Brian Greene was biologically and mathematically forced by the Big Bang to sit down and write a book, telling us we don't have free will. He didn't choose to write it. If the illusion of choice serves no functional, evolutionary, or physical purpose, why did the brain evolve to experience it? Greene's purely physical response is that consciousness is just a highly complex, emergent property of ordered particles processing information. It just is. The feeling of making a choice is just what it feels like internally, when a complex biological algorithm processes environmental data and executes a command. If you think his views on free will are extreme, wait until you see how this cold, mathematical philosophy dictates his daily life. You might think he'd be a complete nihilist. Ironically, this exact cold view of the universe drove him to a deeply radical ethical lifestyle, veganism, as a literal survival strategy against artificial intelligence. At age 9, living in the city, he abstractly thought meat just came neatly packaged from a supermarket. Then his mother made spare ribs. He had a sudden, visceral realization that he was looking at the rib cage of a once living animal, and he stopped eating meat immediately. In 1997, after visiting Farm Sanctuary in upstate New York and learning about the mechanics of the dairy industry, he went strictly vegan. But his argument transcends health or environmentalism. It is a breathtaking leap of logic. Humanity has established a global, industrialized paradigm where it is morally, legally, and societally acceptable for a superior cognitive intelligence, humans, to slaughter, exploit, and enslave lesser intelligence animals for pleasure, convenience, and sustenance. Greene asks a horrifying question. What happens when we are no longer the smartest entities on the planet? When a superintelligent AI eventually wakes up and surpasses us, we will have already set the ethical precedent for how the food chain of intelligence operates. If an artificial general intelligence analyzes our history, it won't see compassion. It will see industrialized slaughterhouses. By our own established logic, we will have set the precedent for our own industrialized genocide. Therefore, Greene believes the only way to signal to an AI that consciousness should be preserved is to change the paradigm immediately. We must treat lesser intelligences with respect by going vegan. The idea that the slaughterhouse is the exact blueprint AI will use on us is pure existential dread. But is it just a massive leap of anthropomorphism? Assuming a godlike, silicon-based AI will care about human agricultural ethics is like assuming a human walking down the street cares about the moral philosophy of the ants they step on. The AI won't judge us. It will just optimize its programming. If it needs our carbon, it will take it, regardless of whether we ate tofu or steak. Yet, to Greene, everything is physics. He views all consciousness, a cow, a human, or an artificial neural network, on a sliding scale of matter processing information. Respecting this physical network is the ultimate cold, logical imperative. You cannot mathematically justify exploiting one clump of conscious particles while demanding mercy for another. While formulating this ethical shield against a silicon god, he is still working his day job in the bizarre world of string theory. In 2022 and 2023, Greene and his colleagues published a wildly speculative physics paper titled Back to the Future: Causality on a Moving Brain World. Imagine a brain world, a single slice of bread floating inside a much larger, higher dimensional loaf of space. We live our entire lives on that single slice. The paper suggests that if this slice of bread is moving at high speeds through a compactified extra dimension, one of those curled-up Calabi-Yau spaces, signals sent along our slice could effectively travel faster than the speed of light, or even backward in time. Crucially, they mathematically proved this could happen without violating microcausality, the fundamental quantum rule that an effect cannot happen before its cause at a microscopic level. You can't have a particle absorb a photon before the photon is emitted. Greene's team showed that macro-level signals could arrive instantly or retroactively, while the absolute microscopic rules of cause and effect remain perfectly intact. Just put this whole picture together. By day, this man calculates equations, allowing for time travel on moving slices of the universe hidden in curled-up dimensions. By night, he argues that human free will is an illusion, while demanding that our dietary habits are the only ethical armor we have against an AI apocalypse. He is a walking paradox. And yet, his greatest contribution to human history is still waiting to be unveiled. Despite all of these controversial philosophies, despite the agonizingly unproven nature of string theory, Brian Greene has achieved something undeniably monumental. He is arguably the greatest science communicator of his generation. He has made the world fall in love with the mysteries of the cosmos. His cultural penetration is practically unmatched for a modern theoretical physicist. He has sold over 2 million books worldwide. Massive bestsellers like The Elegant Universe, The Fabric of the Cosmos, and The Hidden Reality. But he did not just write books. He hosted Peabody and Emmy award-winning Nova series based on them, somehow translating 10-dimensional math for primetime television. He made cameos on The Big Bang Theory, appeared in Hollywood films like Frequency, and was a regular fixture on late-night TV with Colbert and Letterman. But his most significant cultural footprint is undoubtedly the World Science Festival. Co-founded in 2008 with his wife, the Emmy-winning journalist Tracy Day, the scale of this festival is staggering. It has drawn millions of visitors to events in New York City and its satellite festival in Brisbane, Australia. And events are still happening currently in 2026. And they do not just do dry academic lectures. They create immersive theatrical experiences. Greene actually adapted his futuristic fable, Icarus at the Edge of Time, into a live stage presentation, featuring an original symphonic score composed by Philip Glass. And this brings us entirely full circle. Think back to that living room in 1968. Think back to his father, Alan Greene, the vaudeville performer and voice coach. Brian Greene took the abstract, nearly incomprehensible, sterile math of Calabi-Yau manifolds, and he applied his father's theatrical, vaudevillian instinct to it. He turned the universe into a stage play. The vaudeville influence did not just manifest as a childhood contrast. It became the very vehicle through which he delivered the cosmos to the public. He used performance art to explain string theory. His peers recognized the immense value of this theatrical translation. It is exactly why he won the 2025 AAAS Mani L. Baumick Award for Public Engagement with Science. The scientific community, even those who heavily criticize string theory, honor him for fostering a global dialogue. Furthermore, he was chosen to host the inaugural Global Space Awards in London in December 2025. So, considering all of this, the math that perfectly predicted particle families, the unproven vibrating strings that cannot be found by the Large Hadron Collider, the deeply controversial philosophy of a predetermined universe, the terrifying AI warnings, and the massive global cultural impact. Is it possible that Brian Greene's greatest contribution to human history won't actually be a physics equation? What if his greatest legacy is simply the fact that he gave a 5-year-old kid watching a Nova special the inspiration to become the next Einstein? That is a very real and perhaps his most lasting possibility. He may never find the ultimate theory of everything written in the mathematics of string theory. He may be entirely wrong about free will, but his undeniable legacy is that he successfully unified the absolute rigor of science with the emotional resonance of human culture. He gave millions of people the vocabulary to wonder about the fabric of reality. Here is a final thought for you to mull over. Looking at the entire arc of his life, Brian Greene spent decades searching for the ultimate, elegant mathematical truth of the universe, only to conclude in his later years that the universe is predetermined, devoid of free will, and inevitably decaying into cold, meaningless dust through the entropic two-step. It is a heavy, crushing conclusion, but what if string theory itself, unprovable, infinitely elegant, perfectly balanced in its mathematics, is simply the ultimate human story? What if it is a beautiful myth we constructed, using the language of math to comfort ourselves in the face of the infinite chaotic dark? It is a beautiful and honestly haunting perspective. If the universe is inevitably destined for dust, the fact that a temporary collection of particles named Brian Greene spent a lifetime trying to sing its song in the key of mathematics is in itself a profound source of meaning. That is a lot to process, from the ripping of space-time to the ethics of an AI apocalypse. If you want to keep exploring the hidden truths, the wild contradictions, and the brilliant minds that shape our world, you need to like, share, and subscribe to Legendary Lives Unveiled. And we really want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Do you think string theory is a true description of reality, or just beautiful, untestable math? And do you agree with Greene's terrifying warning that how we treat animals today will dictate how an artificial intelligence treats us tomorrow? Let us know your thoughts. Until next time, keep looking up.